What's going on, guys? It's Nick here, back with another video. Aaron Jones versus Marlon Mack. Yet another player breakdown I got for you guys. Going into this breakdown, I have Aaron Jones ranked one spot above Marlon Mack. But like we saw with Odell versus Julio, that can always change. I'm trying to pick players that I have right next to each other that I really don't feel confident in my ranking one over the other. So if you like these player breakdowns, then be sure to leave a like on the video. It's much appreciated. But let's start things off with the stat of the day. The answer to yesterday's stat of the day was Philip Rivers. Today's stat: during the postseason in 2018, which wide receiver had the most yards after the catch per reception? So let's start this breakdown. We've got Aaron Jones up first. And Jones was the full-time starter, getting the majority of the snaps from weeks 8 through 14 last season. And in that time, he was 5th in fantasy points, ahead of David Johnson, Melvin Gordon, Todd Gurley, Nick Chubb, Joe Mixon, and Philip Lindsay. He was also PFF's 8th rated running back over that span. And while he's not known as a receiving back, he did have a better yards per reception than Dalvin Cook, Ezekiel Elliott, Philip Lindsay, Joe Mixon, Dion Lewis, Kerryon Johnson, Chris Thompson, and Theo Riddick. In fact, he had a 90th percentile college target share. Athletically, he's not David Johnson, he's not Ezekiel Elliott, he's not Todd Gurley, but he checks off a lot of the boxes we do look for a good running back. He has an elite burst score, he has a good agility score, he's got an extremely high college dominator rating, and he's most comparable to Christian McCaffrey on playerprofiler.com. Reports from camp have been overwhelmingly positive. Jones looks like the clear-cut starter, and LaFleur has indicated that he wants to get the ball to running backs more in the passing game. Last season, Aaron Jones led the league in yards per carry. He was also 6th in percent of carries that gained positive yards, was tied for 1st in percent of carries that gained 5 or more yards, and was tied for 2nd in percent of carries gaining 10 or more yards. He was also, and this is important, league average in carries gaining 20 or more yards. All of these bode extremely well for his ability to maintain a high yards per carry. I'm not saying he's going to lead the league again, because let's be honest, he's very likely to regress a little bit off of what he did last season, but he can maintain a high yards per carry. If we look at these stats, typically we expect a large regression from running backs who see a low percent of their carries gain positive yards while breaking off, big chunk runs. So if you look at a guy and not that many of his carries went for positive yards, it should still be a good amount. But comparing to other backs, if he ranks towards the end in percent of carries that gained positive yards, but had a bunch of long runs, and that's why his yards per carry is high, those are the players we expect to regress. Well, Jones is the opposite. He had a lot of really nice 5 and 10 yard runs, and not that many that he broke off for like 20, 30, 40 yards. So we can expect his yards per carry to remain high. Jones has also been hyper productive whenever he's been given the starter's workload. In his 6 career games with more than 13 carries, he's never been under 72 rushing yards, and he's averaged 20.6 PPR points per game. The glaring concern with Aaron Jones is his health. In his 2 seasons as a pro, he suffered 3 MCL sprains and a pulled hamstring, and that's forced him to miss 4 games in each season. He's also never been given more than 19 carries, and he's been given over 20 touches just twice. We have no idea if he's able to stay healthy, averaging 17 to 18 touches per week. All we know is that if he does, he's going to be a running back 1. So if you believe Aaron Jones can stay healthy this season, you think he's putting in starter's workload, 16 weeks, and he's like the guy, you don't think the other running backs are better than him, you don't think they're going to take any workload, he's going to be a running back 1, so he's definitely someone you should be targeting. Okay, we did Jones. We're going to move on to Marlon Mack. And Marlon Mack is entering his 3rd season as a pro, and after in a pretty underwhelming rookie season, he stepped it up pretty big last year, posting 908 rushing yards, 9 touchdowns, with 17 receptions for 103 more receiving yards and 1 touchdown, and that's through just 12 games. While Jones gets a bad rap for his injuries, Mack has also struggled to stay healthy at times. He tore his labrum in his rookie season, then suffered 2 hamstrings and concussion in 2018. Mack, however, has proven that he can handle an NFL workload. Last season, he had 4 games with 22 or more touches, including 3 games with 25 or more carries. Mack's struggles have been in the receiving game. He's averaged a 64% catch percentage in his first 2 seasons, including 66% last season. So no, it was not because of Luck's shoulder. And you might say, well, no, I've seen some wide receivers that are pretty good that have around a 64, 65% catch percentage. That's wide receivers. For running backs, you really want them to be in like the low to mid 70s for their catch percentage. And if you look at PFF, they back this up. They ranked him dead last in receiving grade among running backs with at least 20 targets. He somehow recorded 3 drops on just 17 receptions while gaining the 5th lowest yards per reception. And you look at the roster, well, Nyheim Hines ranked 11th in receiving grade, hauling in 63 receptions in his rookie season. So with Nyheim Hines and now Paris Campbell able to excel in that short area of the field, it is extremely unlikely that we see Mack's role expand in the receiving game. The good thing is that he's still been able to post elite numbers even with a limited pass game role. He was 11th in half PPR points per game last season, even with 3 less receptions than Jordan Howard. He's the lead back on a top 5 offense in football, so not only are there going to be a ton of opportunities to score, but there are going to be a lot of games where he can get 25 plus carries as they run the clock out. Mack also has a very secure red zone role. He ranked 11th in carries inside the 20, 9th in carries inside the 10, and tied for 7th in carries inside the 5. Jones ranked 41st, 43rd, and 41st in those same categories. So what's my decision? I've broken down both these guys, and honestly, this one was the most difficult so far to break down. I really like both running backs, and I think they could both realistically finish in the top 7 to 8 overall. Jones has far more receiving upside, and we still haven't seen the numbers he could put up with a full workload. I mean, imagine what he could do with 20 carries and a few targets per game. It's incredible. Mack, on the other hand, has the job on lockdown, and he still posted more points per game under any format than Aaron Jones last season, even with his limited receiving work. Ultimately, I will be moving Mack ahead of Aaron Jones in my rankings. It honestly came down to risk and reward. We know for a fact that Marlon Mack is the Colts' #1 running back. We're fairly confident in saying Aaron Jones will be the lead back, but there is still a chance that the other running backs mix in more than we would like. There's also the issue of workload. You know, we've seen Marlon Mack handle a large amount of touches in a game, and we've seen that the Colts are comfortable giving him massive volume. We just haven't seen those two things from Aaron Jones. We've never seen him able to handle a big workload, and the Packers haven't shown that they're willing to give him one. Marlon Mack is also just 23 years old. He has an elite offensive line, and he's going to be on one of the most dominant offenses we've seen in the past few seasons. Guys, remember how good the Colts were last year? Well, they're even better this season. They're going to score a lot of points. So there is absolutely a chance that Marlon Mack scores 15 touchdowns this season. I mean, he scored 9 through 12 games last year, and they've gotten better. So I'm absolutely highlighting Marlon Mack as a must-target running back under any format in our draft kit, which is now available to you guys for the least expensive price in the industry. If you want to dominate your draft and dominate your league in season, then head on over to our website, thefantasyfootballadvice.com, and check it out. But that's the end of this player breakdown. I hope you guys did enjoy it. If you did, how about hitting that like button? We always appreciate it. And how about subscribing to the channel if you're new? And thanks for watching.